Hey everybody, welcome to Woodworking Wisdom. My name's Colwin Way, and it's all about the Polar Express, or little steam trains today. We've got Ben on the cameras and the questions, so don't forget, ask him whenever you have anything you need to know. But hopefully as we go through it, I'll be able to answer most of the questions before they get asked. That's the plan anyway. We're making a little steam train, Christmas inspired, of course, because we can fully embrace Christmas now. And this is going to be a two-parter. So I'm doing the first part. We're just doing a few decorations for it's going to be almost like a candle arch, really, a little Christmas scene. Ben's going to swoop in on Thursday and take the glory and do the big section of this, the scene itself. But we're just making a few of the decorations to start the ball rolling, as it were. So we're going to have a look first of all. Now, before we start and make any of the trains, this is where I started, or this is the little project that I started with, and this is one of the steam trains that I make for hanging off the Christmas trees. So they're nice little gifty presents. It's a Polar Express, like I say. I have got the plans, or the link to the plans of these, which I sell on Etsy. Now the link is below. Also to the website, if you're still looking for those books on making the smokers, fruit making, all those sorts of things, they're there. So that's there if you wanted to go for one of those. But we're going to make it simple. We're going to do one in front of you so you can see exactly how to make one of these. Or then you should be able to go on to do something a little bit bigger. These are obviously undecorated, these second ones I'm showing you. Then the little carriages. The carriages are bringing timber to the skill center, of course, so they're bringing timber for us to work on. But yeah, they're really nice. I've glued these up in preparation for today, these blank ones here, but I would make sure that you paint before, or decorate before you glue them together, because otherwise it can be quite tricky. Or if you want to, of course, just leave them unpainted. They're quite nice as a finished little steam train and carriages as they are. As I've said in the write-up, the explanation to this video, you can upscale them. You can make them whatever size you want to. I've just made them here to hang on the tree or go to our scene that Ben's going to make on Thursday. But you can make full-size toy ones. Of course you can. We're wood turners at the end of the day, so you can do whatever size you want to. So I'm just going to go through the process of how we make each of the pieces. And there's only a few pieces on these little projects which aren't turned. So you should be all right. As a wood turner, you should be all right. If you're woodworkers, then no problem at all, of course. And when I say one piece, now if we go back to my little painted trains here, so here we go. So those little trains here, wait, that one, we have that one piece is the only piece that's not going to be turned. All the rest of it, all of these are all painted. Now, of course, you could, if you really wanted to treat, if you're going to look at production running these and doing batches of them, you could, if you can find it cheap enough, go for pre-turned dowel. But as a wood turner, I think it's a little bit of a cheat, and we can turn as much of this dowel as we want to, of course. Depends on how many you're making. If you're making thousands of the things, then absolutely go dowel all day. But let's do everything as if we're going to turn it. So I'm going to start with the small ones. Because I've already had a sneak peek of what Ben's doing for you on Thursday, I'm going to not just do trains. We're going to do some little trees and a little snowman to decorate the scene as well. And then that's all going to be illuminated up with some nice LEDs afterwards. So let's get turning, I think. One other thing, I just wanted to put another video in front of you. Mark Beckett, the Gentleman Wood Turner, is going to be live at 8 o'clock this evening. Mark, if you are watching, then pop the link in so everybody can see that. So it's 8 o'clock UK time, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I have had a quick look this morning just to make sure. Okay, are we good to go, Ben? Lots of chit chat so far. Hopefully, anyway. Like I said, we are fully embracing Christmas now, so there's absolutely no excuses. I can say the word as many times as I want, I believe now. So go for it. So what are we doing? We're doing the tree. Where should we start? Let's start with the only non-bit of turning. I think that would be a good place to start. So we'll need to get a chuck on. We need to get the sanding disc on, because all I've done with this piece of non-turning is just a, I suppose you could call it an offcut, but this is around about 6 mil thick, so 1/4 inch thick, so around about 25 or an inch wide. Looking at that, it's probably around about sort of 2 inches to 50 mil long. Okay, so that gives you the rough sizes, but size is entirely up to you what you go for. If you want to make them bigger, just upscale all of this. Nothing looks bad at the end of the day, to be fair. So I'm just going to pop the chuck on with the C jaws. We're then going to add on the sanding disc. Ooh, one other plug before we go any further. I wanted to get this plug in. I'm demonstrating tomorrow down at the Axminster store from 10 o'clock until around about 3 o'clock, hopefully. If you're around that area and fancy coming to watch, I'm going to do some nutcrackers, some smokers, some little Christmas carousels, some of these little Christmas trees. So it's going to be a day of sort of heirloom Christmas decoration making, really. So yeah, come along, have a cup of coffee and say hello. We got chairs so you can sit down. You can spend as long or as short as you want watching. But that's at the Axminster store in Axminster tomorrow from 10 o'clock. All right. That's if you're watching this live, of course. If it's 2 months down the line and it's August, then I won't be there. So all we're going to do is sand each corner. Let's put the dust extraction on just to take some of that horrible dust away. There we go. So just cleaning up. Now I say, we don't have to be overly picky with this. I'm just taking off some of the saw cuts. You don't have to. Soften the corners. First bit done. Okay, so first bit done. So that's where we are at the moment. So let's start now with the wheels. So we're going to make some dowel. Then we're going to do a bigger bit of dowel. Then we're going to do a bigger bit of dowel. We're going to create the stack as well. The only bit of shaped turning there. So we'll put our base to one side. This is all going to get eventually glued together. I tend to go with epoxy glue. You can use wood glue. The trouble with wood glue is it takes a long time to dry. If you go with a 5-minute epoxy, then it's 5 minutes. You could go super glue, but I find with the super glues that after a little bit of time they become quite brittle, and you see things sort of falling off. So it breaks down after a while, I found. So epoxy resin for me tends to give the longest life of grip, and one of the strongest ones as well. And just an easy and a quick turn around. So there we are. Pop that one to one side just for the moment. So we're going to do some turning. We need to get a slightly different set of jaws on. What size? We're going to go with really small jaws initially. So I'm going to go for the OD 1, so the O'Donnell 1-inch. Put that one to one side again. So the OD 1s, because they're internally small enough to hold the timber I have here. If you can see, that's a nice small internal grip. We're going to go with wheel size timber. And let's do about there. How many wheels am I going to need? For this train, we're going to put 4 wheels on this. So I'm going to use the tailstock first. Your chance to get the skew out. Everybody loves the skew, as we've already discussed many times. So we're going to go with the skew, and you can have a guess which skew I'm going to use and what speed. So everybody knows. Of course, I'm going to go for the 30 mil. Might need to do a few more of these. So let's just get down to size I think should be about right. It's going to be quite a small piece. I think we're about there. So let's just make it parallel now. And, this isn't rocket science. We don't need to get your vernier out or anything like that. This is just going to be just by eye, because what looks right is right. That big chisel's just getting a little bit too cumbersome and in my way now, so I'm just going to go to the smaller one. There we go. How are we doing, Ben? Any questions yet?
Yeah, we've got a question in here, Colwin, a well-timed question. So a great question here from Robert. He said he was reading on Facebook about the other day, but someone said that if you use the skew upside down, it's easier. He's never heard of that. Any thoughts?
Yeah, if you use a skew upside down, I guess upside down means long point downwards. No, it's no easier at all. It's just as easy doing it what I call the correct way up. No, I've using the long point down is good for harder materials. I'm not quite sure why, because you're presenting the same sort of angle. But I've always used long point down for things like bone, and in some cases horn. That sort of thing. So those sort of materials, that works quite well. Bone being the harder one. But no, I mean, I haven't found one being easier over the other. Practice makes them easy, not whether you use long point up or long point down. Personally, there we are. So I'm just going to now measure the width of that piece of timber. This is going to span these two. So I'm going to clean this end up in a minute. So I'm going to have a little bit of waste. There we go. Am I going to need to? Oh, I might just get away without having to make another one there. So let's part these off. I am going to do a little bit of tidying up as well. So I just want to put a little parting tool cut in between each one. Or you can take them right off of the lathe and just saw them by hand. It's entirely up to you. It doesn't really make a huge amount of difference. So let's just tidy up. All of these are going to be painted, so I'll start. I think I'll just start with a 150. Tidy the end. Sand the face. There we go. Part the first one off, and I can go to the disc sander to sand this cut end. One. Bit of abrasive. 2. 3. Oh, so we've got our 4 little wheels. They're going to be sanded in a moment, so I'm not going to bother putting the sanding disc on just yet. We're going to sand everything all together right at the end, and then I can show you the order they assemble. But there we are. We have a clean end and we have a non-clean end, which we'll sand afterwards. The other thing, we also need to add a little flat for butt jointing these together. If I just get one of our previously made ones there, look. So you can see on here, we've got a little flat on the side, or the face of each of these flats here. So that helps to butt joint it on the bottom. And that's all that's needed, a bit of butt jointing. We don't need to be clever with joints or anything like that. It's nice and basic. So that's our first bit of dowel. We're going to go up size-wise now. We're going to do the center stack, so the actual steam part of our train here. Okay, and then we go on up again to the big size, and then we can drill and create the little chimney there. as well. So let's go up now. So that size that I've just turned there was about 3/8, so about 9 to 10 mil. So we're going to go up in size. Let's go up now to about, I would say about 5/8 now, I guess. So that's up to 15 mil, isn't it, ish? So, and again, like I say, with everything, you know, if you're going to make one, make several. We've got a nice long piece of timber there. You can do a couple at a time. You're not going to hang one of these on the tree. Remember, the odd number always looks better than an even number. So 3s, 5s and onwards. And we're going to stick with the skew. It's a great practice piece, this dowel making with the skew chisel. No matter what skew you use. There we go. So think about the front of the train. So here we are. I'm going to clean the surface up, and I'm just going to put a little bit of decoration right on the end. Just because it's easy to do at this stage. Let's grab our base. Now I need to leave enough. So I reckon, looking on what I've got there, so I want this to end about there. So I need to make him about that long. Okay, I'm just judging it by the actual base. And we'll sand. Let me do a little parting tool cut. And we'll sand again. I would say if you're gonna leave these as timber, then maybe go to, this is just 150 grit here, so probably up to about 320 or 400. But if you're gonna paint, to about 240 should be enough. There we are. And again, all this is going to be popped on the disc sander later. So it's a simple case of parting off at this stage, just leaving yourself with that little bobbin. Okay, so that's the next stage. So that's going to be placed. You can almost start to see the train coming to life here. So now is the next section, which is a bigger dowel altogether. So up our size, I'll give you dimensions. I've just gone and cut some timber for this. Literally 10 minutes before we went live, I ran out to the car because realized we didn't have a bigger piece of timber. So there we are. We're going up in size now, probably about 30 mil, about 1.25 inches this piece. So up in size. If my jaws won't do it, I've got the next size up, and they're looking a little bit out of their range. So let's go up to the next size, and I'm going to stick with the ODs, the O'Donnells. If you don't have the luxury that I have here of having lots of different chucks set up with lots of different jaws, then do what I said earlier, you know, do the same section, just do several of them. So if you want to make sort of, I don't know, 5 or 7 of these, then just do 5 or 7 of those pieces before you move on to the next section, sort of thing. Save you moving chucks around too often. But just for this demonstration, we're only making one, so I'm going to swap the chucks around, the jaws around. There we are. Let's put that right down there. I don't actually need that much in terms of length on this next section. So go up a little bit. So just down to round again. And there we go. Again, I'm going to clean up this one end. Okay, and we'll do another measurement. So taking both now, both of the pieces, we need to measure. A little bit of overhang. This one's going to go right there. Yes, Ben.
So a question from Frederick. He's asking, is the wood pine?
This is one of my favorites. Remember all those demos that I do with the skew, the table legs, those sorts of things. This is that joinery grade of pine. It cuts beautifully in its larger form. You can see the close growth rings there. Okay, so you can see it's a nice timber to work with. What we used to always get was this nice slow grown pine, but sadly nowadays it's a very quick grown material for building. This is a joinery grade, don't forget, so much harder. Lovely piney smell as well. I really like using it. There we are. We'll just do partially cut and then we can sand. And then once again, let's part off. Our next section. Okay. We're building these sections up now. Let's turn that one off. I want to do the stack for you. And I should have done that actually before I changed these jaws over, because it's from a much smaller piece of timber. Let's just do that a second. Change the jaws back. And then we'll drill and get everything up together, ready to glue. There we go. Piece of dowel that I turned previously. I'm going to clean this surface up. So this is going to be the little chimney stack that goes here. So we've already turned these two bits. We've already turned all the wheels. So it's a really quick little project. This you can see quite quickly. You can build a good stock up, especially if you've got that production head on. So we're going to drill the main steam section of the train, so this can then slot in on a little tenon. There we go. So a nice little concave cut. And we'll just measure the drill we're going to use to drill with. Is this one right here, just with this little set of calipers. Let's go for a slightly bigger parting tool. So tighten that up. There we go, that's done. Right, now I can just finish the shaping on the stack here. That'll do us. A little bit of abrasive. And we'll pass off. There we are. So we've got our little chimney stack. Right. Yes, Ben, you've got some questions there, I understand.
Yep. So another question from Frederick. He's asking, when facing off with when using a skew to face off end grain, suffers with excessive chattering and vibration. The tool is sharp. Any tips as to what he may be doing wrong, please?
Yes. So I'm guessing that it's quite a big diameter piece that you're trying to face off, because what you then get, Frederick, is you get bevel bounce. Remember, we spoke about bevel bounce before when planing cuts or when you're using a bowl gouge on the outside of a bowl, that sort of stuff. Well, doing end grain is no different, and it's one of those things that it almost echoes. So it starts small and it gets bigger and bigger the further you progress with the cut. What I would say or try and do is get the technique mastered on smaller pieces first before you move up too big. And it is leading in with the tip of the tool. Only go down to the bottom third once you've started the cut off. Otherwise, you tend to get grabs going on. You do need the bevel rubbing, but don't push too hard against the bevel as you start cutting. And it is the same thing. It's that you've got soft and hard sections of timber, and they're just bouncing, or the chisel's bouncing off of them as you go down through. But you get such a chatter, it's almost, you can proceed with the cut, and and the finish is almost like a spiraled finish when you do finish that. So I would correct it with the parting tool and then go back in with the skew to clean up again if it happens. All right.
And then we got a question about timber. So it's completely unrelated to the video. But they've recently been given a quantity of Douglas fir, beech, 200-year-old oak, and a very green log of larch. So they're asking about the suitability, I guess, of turning it.
Yep, all good, all no problem. How you handle each piece is different. So green timber will need to be either turned wet, so what we call turn green, and left to dry, or you turn with the hope or the want for it to become a sculptural piece, so i.e. turning really, really thin and letting it move. So look into that. If you want a rough turn, again, look into those. We've done a few videos on rough turning. Basically, that's turning the piece 2/3 finished and then letting dry in a cool and dark place. In terms of the timber, all of them, the varieties of timber you mentioned are all turnable, and they're all nice in their own ways, depending on, how colorful those particular trees were or are, will dictate to you how you want to use them. And of course, the size of the pieces as well. If you've got big, great big oak, then certainly get that planked up or rough turn it, and you can get some good pieces out of that bowl wise. But if it's smaller pieces, you might want to look at maybe some natural edges or the smaller projects. Be a little bit careful about leaving it all to dry in one place for too long without checking it. The sap on oak is very prone to worm, as is beech as well. So just keep an eye on things. Rough turn where you can, where you know what you're going to make with those particular pieces of timber. And it's great. It's probably the cheapest way of getting timber is buying wet timber or discovering wet timber, especially if you've been gifted it. So yeah, no, absolutely fine there. That sounds like you've got lots of practice ahead of you. All right. Right, where are we sanding next? We're going to sand all those pieces and then look to assembly before we just do a couple of little fun pieces of decoration. For then Ben to take away and finish his scene. So let's go with sea jaws again. We're going to get the sanding disc on, tidy up and create our flats. We got some great projects coming up soon. Next week I'll be on Banksia nuts and resin. I'm looking over here because I've got some prepped up here. So Banksia and resin, and I've used the pressure pot on that to make sure the resin fills every part of the Banksia nut. We're going to mess around with some of our shape on there. Ben, what have you got coming up for everybody?
So we've got the other part of this on Thursday. So we're going to be going on to the scroll saw, creating the arch and some a kind of a backdrop, I guess. So staying on with the Christmassy theme and working together to make a nice little scene.
I've got a little bit related to Christmas, more as a Christmas gift. We got a table skittles. Now, if you're in the southwest of the UK, table skittles is very much a pub game, and use a little bit with with actual pub leagues for table skittles. But if you're outside of the southwest of the UK, or if you're overseas, table skittles is basically skittles with a ball on a pendulum. and you throw the ball around and it knocks the Skittles down. So it's a nice little family game. So we're going to have a go at doing that in a couple of weeks. So that'll be a nice pre-Christmas project as well. All of these I'm going to try and do live. The resin's going to have to have been cured before, so but I'm going to show you how to mix some resin up as well. So that's next week and the week after. Ben's going to be carrying on with our candle arch on Thursday as well. There we are, dust extractor on. So we're going to clean up all the pieces we've now turned. So let's start with where we started on the actual wheels. It's that quick. Okay. So there, we got the wheels all cleaned up. What you want to do now is just create a little flat running the length of those wheels so they can sit, and then that we can glue them onto the bottom of the main platform. Right, so there we have our 4 wheels. They're going to go on to the bottom of our platform in a minute. The next part, if you remember, was the main steam stack. Same thing here. We're going to create a little flat on the bottom. I want that to sit nicely. There we go. That's sitting quite nice on there like that. And then the bigger section. Yeah, that works quite well. I'll put them. Then you've got that camera at the perfect angle. Let's just bring our wheels over. There we are. So we've got an almost train there. We need to make the little stack that goes on the top. What we've done is we've made it. We just need to drill it ready for fitting. Let me just grab my drill. I'm going to be really careful. I normally like to use a V-block for this, but my V-block is down to the demonstration tomorrow, so I've set up already. I don't have it with me, so let's just be really careful. I'm using the flat that's already there now from our sanding. I'm going to mind my fingers. Let's just guide the lip and spur. So brad point drill in. That's far enough. And then we can put our little stack in there. And then that'll be the crowning glory on that little steam train. There we are. So dead simple. There's a lot of very similar pieces in there to create that train. You can embellish a little bit more. If we go to our bigger version, all I've done with that one, this is another piece of turning on the top here, just split through, and one more piece of non-turn section I added, which is just that. So that's a hole running through a piece. In fact, 2 drill holes. This is another drill hole here, but then I cut with my bandsaw up to join the hole. This is still requiring sanding, so this is a rough piece that's not ready yet. But that's all that this little section was. So that fits there that way. Look. Okay. Apart from that, again, a lot of turning going on there. So they're great fun pieces. When decorated, that particular style that we've got there looks something like that. It's entirely up to you. You can paint them. You don't have to paint them. You can leave them as wooden projects. They're great fun. And then adding to that, we've done, which is an even simpler piece of turning here. Let's make him move along a little bit. There we are, all falls to pieces. He had a bit of a train crash there. There we are. We've got nice little timber wagons being towed behind. Okay, only 2 wheels on that one, and then more down on the top to represent the timber. But again, just one piece of non-turnery. So for us turners, it's not difficult. You saw exactly where we were there. So a couple more things I want to do. So we've got some trains. We're going to make a little tree, and I'm not going to do the heel cut tree. We're going to do just a little standard Christmas tree with some V cuts. So we need, what size should we make these trees? Let's go slightly bigger. I don't, you know, I've seen the candle arch that Ben is making, and we don't want to be too big with all the decoration, otherwise it's going to swamp it. And these are only placed in the front of the arch. So let's do a little tree, a V-cut tree from this piece, and then we'll use the same piece of timber to turn a little snowman. This is great. This size of projects is really good for practice with things like skew chisels, things that you're unsure about. Because if you do get any drama with this sort of size of timber, it's always relatively low. Small issues. Even the catches on this size of timber are far less aggressive. So turn the speed to 0, then turn up to, I'm turning here about 1800. I'm going to start with a large skew. It's just my preference, but you don't have to. Just to rough down. But you don't have to rough down with a skew either. If you're uncomfortable with it, you're just learning, then just go with a roughing gouge, a bowl gouge, a spindle gouge, absolutely fine. I'm just looking up a bit, Ben, just making sure we've got no questions because I'm concentrating on what I'm doing. Yeah, we're okay? Good. So, Christmas tree. Let's do a fairly simple form, but a great one for practicing the skew. So we're going to start with a nice little cone shape. Let's make him fairly tall. This is great practice because as we're getting closer to the top of the tree, obviously it's getting smaller. So my handle's having to creep up. There we are. Right, we'll do a few little lines in this and then some V cuts. So now tilt in the skew. So a straight cut and then a tilt. Straight cut and then a tilt. Straight cut and then a tilt. When I get down to the detail, I'm just using their heel. Creep into the detail. There we go. And now to the base. Now, just to make this easier, rather than coming down to a center a spindle, let's go down to a base that can be sat in front of the project. So little concave cut. So that's just a usual movement with the handle, that swing with the handle of the tool. There we are. Up to that point. I will use the parting tool. Take a little bit of that base away first. You can choose to paint these, airbrush them, whatever you want to, or even if you had the Chromacraft pens, this is a great point to be using the pens on this sort of solid project here. Ben, throw me one of them pens. Bet you can't find the green one first time. Have you got it? That's amazing. Well done.
Olive.
Oh, well, there you go. Let's slow the laser speed down. I think, not sure whether this is going to be a green. Oh, that's not bad. That's a nice little forest green, look. And that's nice. Perfect. And then we'll finish parting off. Now that's quite a nice little finish on that. If I can get that close to the camera with up the right way, that'll be better. I like the way the grain's coming through on that. That green's worked really well. I like that. There we are. So one little tree. I'll do a couple more for you, Ben, when we're off. So there's a nice little Christmas tree. Let's do a little snowman and some bead forming. So let's go over to the round section. Hold that nice and securely then in our jaws. Lay speed back up. Again, don't want to go too big for this. Keep them fairly small. So I'm going to just in my head work this out in terms of length. So I'm going to go, let's go hat, let's go head, then go middle body, bottom body. I just want to make sure that I've got enough timber there. So let's go down in scale first. So if I use my beading and parting tool, right, now I can start working things out. I've got a rough idea of where I've placed everything. So let's go V-cut. And this is a series of V-cuts to do these little beads now. Another V-cut. With a head. And then up here, we're going to do a straight cut. So I'm bringing my handle round and then a tilted cut. And that's going to be the rim of the hat. Okay, so we've laid the project out. Clean that surface up. Yes, Ben, question.
So a question from Maria. She's asking when you're parting off something, and this is going back to the Christmas tree. When you're parting off something with a base like that, do you angle the tool towards the tailstock to get a dipped base?
Yeah, absolutely. You probably saw then. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to sand the bottom, Maria, it doesn't matter. You know, on the disc sander, it's fine. But if you're just parting off and leaving it, then yeah, just slightly dishing the underside works really well. You will have to just take away the little nib it leaves. You know what I mean by that. If I can show you, there we are. So that little nib. All right. And parting tools don't leave the best finish, so you might want to sort of think about sanding anyway there. I have been using the Russian lathe knife to part off frequently because it only has a 7-degree bevel on it, so I've been able to get away with it. But regular skew chisels, just you struggle in a small area to get the cut. But that's just a result of the parting tool that finish there. So yeah, slightly dished in or flat and sand. Good question. All right, we'll do the little. I'm going to do this in reverse, really, because I don't want to have not too much here to hold. So I'm going to do the hat first. So let's go for the nice long rim. There we are. Heel cut. we're about there. So just a little bit of detail to correct at that point. Long point down, and on all of these little bead areas, long point in just to give it a bit more definition. Parting tool. I'm not going to part off just yet, but I want to give myself a visual as to where it's going to be parted off. So then I have somewhere to sand to. I would probably go a little bit finer with this one, so up to sort of 320, 400. Again, unless you're painting, and then you can stop at 240. There we are. Then all that's left for that one part off. And again, little nib like we were talking about, Maria, just a little nib there to clean off, sand off, or whatever. These are going to sit on the actual scene, so as long as I sand that flat, that'll be fine. If you're really dedicated, you can turn a little carrot nose as well. But look at the size of my fingers. I'm not going to turn a carrot nose on that one. So there we are. Let's just grab these together. Maybe on the number 2 there, Ben. So there's our couple of figures for the scene. We have a little snowman and a little Christmas tree. And then alongside that, and I haven't glued it together, so I'm going to bring you a finished one that is all glued together. That's going to pull together with our little Polar Express. There, that's about us done for the day. Let me just get my little platform up. We'll grab some of these finished pieces just to have a final look. You're going to see them again on Thursday. So that's a slightly bigger version of what we've just done. There's our Polar Express. And our couple little... Maybe a number 2 there, Ben, please. Thank you. Get my big fat fingers out of the way. All right. Yes, go for it, Ben.
So Maria's saying, just with a little hook, all of those could be Christmas decorations, Christmas tree decorations.
Christmas tree decorations, absolutely, yeah. We've got some, we've been doing what we call Beat the Boredom, so for little projects for kids to play with over the holidays. And both myself and Ben have been doing some Christmas tree decorations, done some little presents and some little painted plaques, and just the little brass eyes with some Christmas ribbon have worked really well. So little 6mm eyes screwed in work excellent, just like these. Looks like the ones I've got on the trees here. Sorry, Ben, mesh around here. These little things, a little bit of sparkly ribbon or string like that works well. So yeah, we could even have Christmas tree penguins, Maria, to hang from the tree if you wanted to. A little glittery scarf or something around their necks. There we are. Any more questions, Ben?
Just a quick one's just popped in from Liz Art Creations. Thread chasing tools. Oh no, it's disappeared. We did have we do sell thread chasing tools.
We do. Yeah. Last time I checked, we had 3 different TPIs, but I'm not sure now. So it'd be worth having to check. If you get any trouble with that, drop us a line at Woodworking Wisdom, and we can answer that for you. But yeah, from memory, I think there was an 18 and a 26, but don't quote me on that. I need to double check that for you. All right. So yes, all good. So a couple of things to remind you about. Don't forget the Gentleman Turner tonight at 8 o'clock UK time. I haven't seen what he's going to be making yet. I understand he's going to be using the skewing, maybe doing some hill cuts and all those sorts of things. So have a look for that. I'll be in the Axminster store tomorrow demonstrating for most of the day, 10 till around about 3 o'clock on the heirloom Christmas decoration. So I'd love to see if you are in the area, you could come to that one. Like I say, the plans are there as links if you're interested. But once again, thank you for stopping by and watching and dedicating that last hour to us messing around on the lathe. We really do appreciate it. If you did like what you see, don't forget, like I say every single time, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share with as many people as possible. And until next week, where I'm going to be doing Banksia and resins, see you again. Bye-bye. Don't forget to join Ben on Thursday to see the finish of this this candle arch as well. See ya, everybody. Bye-bye.